Welcome to the real Ramblers movie talk for fanatics. The real Ramblers movie talk for fanatics. And now your hosts, Bill and Lee Howard.
Hello and welcome to the Real Ramblers. I am Bill.
Bing, bing,
This is my brother,
bing, bing,
Lee.
bing, bing, bing.
Sued.
And I'm Lee Howard. Hi.
And this is our producer, Jay, that's insisting that we stay away from being sued.
Copyrighted material.
Today we're discussing a favorite of Lee's.
Yeah.
But before I say that, I just want to say that Lee is not in the greatest mood today because he could be meeting the cat and the dog from Pet Sematary today, but instead has to do this stupid podcast.
I'm so mad, guys. I literally would have went otherwise.
And the dog?
Yeah, from the
at
remake.
Deadly Grounds.
Yes.
By the way, Deadly
Oh my
Grounds.
God. Yes.
Can we just say how cool Deadly Grounds is? They are not a sponsor. We are not being forced to say this. But being avid horror genre fans and ambassadors to that community, we want to say a shout out to Deadly Grounds because not only do they have kick-ass coffee, but it's all horror stuff and like they're just really
The best.
cool.
In you can order their coffee online.
Yeah.
They have an amazing cafe and curiosities in Curtis, Ontario, and they just opened up a kiosk in a local mall. And
The Oshawa Center.
In the Oshawa Center.
Call it what it's called.
Yeah.
Don't just say the local
Well,
mall.
I mean, what if our listeners are in the...
But what if they come to Oshawa and they go to some local mall that's a little dirtbag crap mall and they're like, where's the Deadly Grounds?
So the Oshawa Center, they opened up their second location and they opened a third location, which I forget where it is. Carlton Place. I don't remember where that is. Carlton Place.
Carlton, I guess.
I suppose at his place. It is honestly, it's just they're the best local cafe. They're run by the best people. It's a great, it's just a great environment there.
And they do what they do because they love it and because they love horror.
Yeah,
And
there's tons of local artists that have their stuff there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the best, and we loved it.
You go in there and you feel the love
And
while you're tasting the coffee.
It's so true, and I mean, let me plug the Quiet Room Bears blueberry flavored coffee, which is mine. You can order on their website, deadlygroundscanada.ca. Berry.
There's a bear in there.
It's a pun, kids.
Yeah. Not in the coffee. There's no bears in the coffee.
No. We had to stop using real bear meat. Apparently, you can't liquefy bears for coffee, I guess. But if you want to buy some of their coffee on their website, use the coupon code QRB to save 10% on your
This
order.
whole episode is going to be plugging stuff.
Yeah. And one of their great coffees is the Never Sleep Again. And speaking of Never Sleep Again,
Beautiful segue.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So today we're talking about Halloween. No, today we are discussing the ever popular Nightmare on Elm Street series.
woohoo!
You might all be familiar with the story of Johnny Knife Hands and
Sharpan Joe.
and his quest to find his rival Edward Scissorhands and beat the shit out of him. No, Nightmare on Elm Street, we all know and love. Wes Craven, one of the most beloved directors in the horror genre, and apparently just one of the nicest guys
That's what I heard.
that has ever lived.
I'm so mad I never got to meet him. I really wish
it is
I
sad.
could
It
have.
is sad.
He commented one time on an Instagram post I made.
That's cool.
And it was a drawing of Freddy I made, and it was not even
Was his comment, stop?
I will sue you. It wasn't even a good drawing of Freddy. It was just kind of a quick sketch, and he just wrote like "well done," and I was just like, "Holy shit, Wes
See,
Craven!"
that's awesome.
Oh man, I screenshotted it. It's like amazing.
I love comments from heroes.
Yeah, just
I've
like,
had a few back and forth with James Wan, and as I keep telling my wife, he is now my bestest friend.
yes, yeah.
James, if you're listening, you know you are. Don't fight it. I'll see you on Saturday.
And
for
when are you
dinner.
coming over for dinner? Yeah,
Not when. It's
yes.
Saturday. Be there. So Nightmare on Elm Street. So Lee has been a gigantic Nightmare on Elm Street fan. If you've listened to previous episodes, you know that he was first exposed to Freddy when he was 11 for Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
yeah.
And ever since, he had, in our house back then, he had this bedroom that was like long and narrow. It was super tiny. Like, I mean, you get out of his bed, you're in his closet.
Yeah.
It was very small. And that room was floor to ceiling, every surface covered, Freddy.
It was bananas.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the video store and getting you that stand-up that you wanted. We got it from a video store, I think.
I had the parts 3, 4, and 5, and maybe Freddy's Dead cardboard standees.
Yeah, in this tiny room.
I had a lot of them in that tiny room. And we went into the basement, and there was a little bit more room. But it was packed.
He was obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street and Michael Jackson were his two big obsessions.
Yes.
Which is weird considering, like, what are the chances? Both guys he's obsessed with have, like, knives on their hands.
No, that was a glitter glove.
Right.
They had gloves,
okay,
yes, but
that's right, gloves.
No knives.
My bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Nightmare on Elm Street, let's kick it off with the original, 1984.
Yes, 84.
And this movie was a whole new creature to horror fans.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like, there had been slashers before him, Michael, Jason, but nobody had seen a guy like this, and nobody had seen the element of him being supernatural.
Yeah.
And in dreams and going after these kids.
No studio wanted to pick it up because they're like, someone in your dreams, like, trying to kill you, that's not scary. You just wake up.
Yeah.
Like, they just were like, that's not a threat. And nobody would give it a chance.
Yeah. And I still think Nightmare on Elm Street's backstory about the parents is really one of the most brilliant horror backstories ever.
Totally.
That he literally is, like, going after the kids of the parents. Like, that's just so
it's
great.
Insane. It's
like,
crazy.
It's such a great story. Didn't it come from a dream Wes Craven had?
There's several. There's a lot of. It came.
What did Wes tell you?
Mostly, yeah. Well, very nice. That's all he wrote.
Well done.
It was well done. Thank you. Yes.
Is it well done or is it very nice?
It said, "Be my son. I'm your dad now." It was, I think the main thing was there was a story he had heard about in Japan about young people who were dying in their sleep.
Oh, that's right.
And they didn't know like what was happening or whatever the fuck. There was even like an idea that he took where it's like one of the young guys that died, they found a coffee machine hidden in his like drawer and stuff, that which he put in the first nightmare.
Yeah.
And he just was like, it's so crazy to him, the fact that like, you know, like what if there was something in their dreams that was killing them? And yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. The backstory is brilliant.
Yeah.
When we get to talking about part 3, also Freddy's backstory, like Freddy for me has the best story, like backstory, character story out of any of the horror villains. Like it's just so. You
can discuss it now.
Well, I didn't know if we kind of want to go through movie to movie or whatever, but
no, we don't. This isn't a 6-hour episode.
We'll see. It's gonna be hard. Yeah, I mean, just which is why we're skipping over 2 real quick, but we'll go back to it.
Yeah.
Part 3. That's why part 3 is so great, and what any good sequel does is really add to the mythos.
Yeah.
You know, and really build the story up. And part 3, they gave Freddy's backstory about his mom as the nun in the institution, and then horribly assaulted by maniacs. Like it's the worst possible thing that could happen to a person. And then ultimate evil is born out of that. Yeah. And then just Freddy's whole story, and then the parents killing him. It's perfect horror.
Yeah.
You know? Like a perfect villain was created through the worst events possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just rewatched part 1 again recently. I mean, I've watched them all a million times, of course, but I just rewatched part 1 again recently, and it's so perfect. I love the first one. It's still scary. Freddy's still scary.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that it's still up for debate, kind of, that the whole end of the movie, like what was real, what was not.
Yeah.
You know, because it could be interpreted that the entire third act was not real.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to know, you know, like Freddy coming into the real world. Did that really happen? But I don't think so. Cause then Nancy's like, I know that this is all a dream, like with Freddy killing her mom and her mom like disappearing as a skeleton into the bed. It's like that. Yeah. Well, that couldn't have happened. So this is a dream. Like what's real? What's not? I like
the blurred lines.
Yeah.
I like not knowing.
Yeah. It's fun not to really know.
Yeah.
And I heard a great theory. There's a friend of mine, Paige is her name, and she co-directed that documentary that just came out, Fred Heads.
Yeah.
We could have her on sometime too. And I'd never thought of this as a theory, because a lot of people, if we move into part 2, which I will I love part 2 so much. I will die on that hill. I will fist fight anybody that
I'm
tries
with you on the hill.
to poopy on it. And I know Jay will too.
Yep.
Because Jay,
2 is my favorite.
2 is your favorite. 2 is the first one that you saw as well, right? I think, or no?
No, I saw 1 first.
Okay.
But
because it's funny that 2 was one that a lot of people saw first for whatever reason. A lot of people, what they complain about is that like 2 broke the rules of the franchise.
Robert Englund complains about that.
I know, which
I think
funny.
he's wrong.
I think he's wrong too, which is maybe like a fucking sacrilege thing to say because he is Freddy.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things that Paige brought up, and I was like, oh yeah, shit, that's right. That like Freddy was defeated in Nancy's house at the end of part 1. She turned her back on him, and he like disappeared and lost all his energy.
Yeah.
And it's like it could be looked at that he kind of got locked into that house, which in a way makes sense because that house keeps coming back in all the other movies.
Sure.
Why would that house keep coming back in the other ones that Nancy's not even in anymore and stuff,
Good point.
So I'm like, that is kind of cool. But 2 for me is like Freddy is at his scariest. The makeup is my favorite.
Yeah, by far.
I love the makeup. The look of him is great.
Yeah.
It's the first one that gave him stripes on the on the sleeves.
Yeah.
It's the first one I believe that I can't remember if in the first one they even said the name of the town, Springwood. I could be wrong. But I don't know, just part 2
his talking voice too
is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so great.
Awesome.
Just the music is really weird. They use like these weird whale noises and stuff in part 2.
Yeah.
And I know they didn't use the traditional theme and stuff, but I don't know. There's a feel to part 2. Plus that like the chestburster scene or whatever is like one of the most iconic scenes out of the whole franchise.
Yes. And I've never bought that when people are like, you broke the rules because he came into the real world. I don't buy that because in the first movie, she brought the hat.
Yeah, she brought the hat.
So, I mean, it was established in the first movie that you can bring. If you can bring the hat out, why can't he come out?
Totally. And if you say he broke the rules in 2, how do you explain? There's just no rules. That's what I say. Because how do you explain in part 3, he made his skeleton come to life and fight 2 guys?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I also think 2 has some of the best acting in the series.
Agreed.
And shout out to Mark Patton. Name drop. He's my friend. But it's true. He's so good in that movie.
Real friend, not like my James Wan friendship.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Mark. And if you haven't seen his documentary, Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, it's fucking fantastic.
Check it out.
It's very emotional, very, very good. I can't recommend it enough. It's streaming everywhere. But yeah, I love part 2 so much. It's still creepy. And I like that Freddy doesn't crack any jokes in that. He's like gross and scary. And it's, that's for me, that's my Freddy.
Yeah.
I like a scary Freddy more than a jokey Freddy.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of jokey Freddy.
No, there's like 3 is amazing.
Yep.
And that's where it started.
Yep.
And I'm still okay with it.
I'm okay with it in 3. I think it would have been a better movie without it.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, 3's really where it started becoming like Freddy's the star.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the story of 3 was so smart in the institution and like to show that
it's great.
how this story was bigger than just like Nancy and Jesse, and it's affecting all these other people and the other kids of the vigilante mob that killed them.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Larry Fishburne in it. That's when he was known as Larry Fishburne.
Yep.
Nancy comes back, which was great because she's one of the best final girls as far as I'm concerned.
Craig Wasson, who I always enjoy.
Yeah, although, what's funny in rewatching it? He is a shit doctor in this movie.
Yeah, totally.
He's terrible.
But, I mean, he's written that way. He's supposed to be
well,
a shit doctor.
I mean, I guess. But the thing is that it's like, especially looking at just like how things age sometimes and they don't age well or whatever.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, one of the craziest kills when Freddy makes a marionette out of that kid. And they just think he committed suicide, and they're all having the group, and they're talking about it.
Yeah.
And Neil is his name in the movie, and he's like, Philip just gave up. He's a coward. That's a cowardly thing to do. He let me down. He let all of you down. And it's like, you are a fucking bad doctor. That is not what you say when somebody dies.
Yeah, Craig Wasson's great at playing a jerk. Shit. I don't know if you've ever seen Brian De Palma's Body Double.
Oh, it's been
he's the lead in it.
Yeah, I remember the movie. Yeah,
and he's a jerk in that too.
Yeah, he's like he did good with his role, but he was like a real
he was horrible.
Fucking like eat shit doctor. You're terrible.
Yeah,
but they had like such a good cast. The whole cast was great. The dream powers, the introducing that was
very
like
cool.
Such a cool thing. The
Jennifer Rubin.
Oh,
was amazing. I love her
yeah.
character.
I feel like she should have been like a bigger star. She
yeah,
was
after
so
that
good.
and Bad Dreams,
Yeah.
like she does 2 movies about dreams.
I know.
And then nothing really. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad. She was great though.
Yeah, she was really great. I just all the
But now
different.
she gave up on her dreams.
Oh my god! So we're looking for a new producer on the. Yeah, 3 is amazing. And all the stuff with Freddie's mom.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. And then 4 is really where it started to.
You know what I wrote down on my little cue card here?
What's that?
It says Elm Street. Couple notes. Then it says 1, 2, 3 dash rest trash. That's what I wrote.
Oh my god!
So that's where we're gonna go from here. So after 3, let's talk about.
So 4, yeah, it is really like, it's hard. I wish in.
I just rewatched them recently too.
Oh, cool! That's great.
I rewatched
That's
everything.
That's great. It still pisses me off that in 4 they just kill off the fucking Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know.
I mean, come on.
That's kind of back to what I said in a previous episode about character betrayal.
Yeah.
I don't like character betrayal in franchises. It really pisses me off.
There was no need to kill them off. They could have stayed.
They could have
stayed.
existed and not been in it. Like, you didn't even have to put them in the movie.
Yeah.
Just let people who watch it know that they're out there somewhere and they're fine.
Yeah. But
There was no reason to bring them back just to kill them.
Absolutely, yeah.
dumb.
Keep them or don't. So it sucks that they did that. And then, it's just, it started to get so silly.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's still a part, again, nostalgia.
Yeah.
From a previous episode, we're talking about how nostalgia makes you love, because I still like the other movies, even though I don't like some of the other movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the cockroach girl, and like it gets so kind of goofy.
Yeah.
And Freddy, I mean, this is
Although
really
I'll give some props to the makeup on the cockroach girl.
so great.
She
The
looks
effects are
so great.
It's amazing. The effects are so, like, the whole thing with building a giant Freddy chest to have like people actually pushing through is such a crazy,
really neat
thing for them to do.
Isn't that the one with the pizza?
The pizza, the soul food.
Yeah.
It also has one of the worst.
Were they all that Jaeger guy?
Kevin Yeager?
Did he do
I
all the
believe
makeup
so.
effects and all the sequels? Yeah.
I like his makeup in 4 as well. I think it's cool looking.
Yeah. He does good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, introducing like all these new it's just so cheesy, like the karate scene.
Yeah.
And I know that they like ran out of money, but I mean the fact that this dude's just karateing nobody, like Freddy wasn't even in the scene.
Yeah.
He's, oh my god, it's like, it's terrible.
It's really a shame when you run out of money and people can tell that you ran out of money.
And, what's
when
funny?
it's all on screen, the lack of money.
What's funny is a few years back, I showed Jordan, my fiance, I showed her all the movies because she didn't grow up with them, right? So she has a different view. So it's like to her, she's like, these are all cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, no, I get it. And so
there's nothing better than introducing stuff that you love from the past to somebody who hasn't seen them.
It's crazy.
Just as a side note, our producer Jay and I have been doing movie nights every Wednesday night for, what did we figure?
20 years.
Is it 17?
I think so.
Yeah, like 17 years. And so it's been my it's been my extreme pleasure to introduce him to stuff I love that he had never seen.
It's great to get to do that.
Yeah. And he's talked to me before about how, he didn't really have previously an appreciation for maybe some classic films, for some black and white stuff, for a lot of stuff outside of the norm. Mm-hmm. And it's been really fun to kind of explore movie history over that amount of time with a person. It's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. So it's funny. We watched the Elm Street movies, and she really liked 1, 2, and 3. And then we get to 4, and at the end of 4, she was like laughing all through it. And we get to at the end of 4 where they kill Freddy by showing him like his reflection.
Right.
And she's like, she goes, hold up. Like his reflection kills him? And I'm like, yeah, in this one. And she's like, at the end of part 3, wasn't there a whole hallway of mirrors where like there's like 40 Freddys looking at each other in mirrors? And I was just like, shit. Fair point. I was just like, shit, I didn't even think of that. I mean, the movie also started with a dog peeing in a fire, and it's like, really? That's how you brought him back?
They're so
crazy,
lazy.
Rennie Harlan.
So lazy.
Now, what's funny is on a previous episode, the bad movies that we love, I put 5 on there. Now, 5, people argue what's the worst?
Is 5
or 6?
Dream Child?
Yes.
Okay.
I know it's not great. I know it. And I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's bananas to me that part 4 came out and then part 5 came out in theaters 11 months later.
Yeah,
Like
that's crazy.
they rushed that shit hard.
Yeah.
And you can tell because it doesn't make sense. Like when you really try and figure out the whole, like it just doesn't make sense. Freddy's using the unborn baby's dreams to what?
Yeah.
He's trying to be reborn as Freddy. Nothing makes sense really, you know?
Terrible.
Only, it sounds like a funny thing to complain about, but it's like only 3 people die. But I mean, that's kind of the thing with Freddy movies. Like you want to see these crazy creative deaths and stuff, and like only 3 people die.
I don't want to watch a Fast and Furious movie with only 2 cars in it.
Right? Yeah, it's super true.
Yeah.
And it's just furious.
Yeah.
Or Mission Impossible with 2 Tom Cruises. I just want one. Well, that's the opposite.
Yeah. That's,
anyway,
no Tom Cruise. Yeah. I don't want to watch one called Mission Possible.
Yeah.
No, we can do this. But there's stuff I like about it. Like I was gonna say Freddy is literally at his weakest in this movie in the entire series.
Right.
That he has to be like, can this baby help me get souls or whatever the fuck? And it's so weird. The movie's weird, and I kind of like that in a way. The music is kind of neat. The look of it is kind of neat, and they tried at the beginning to make Freddy dark again. You know, he's like kind of in the shadows when he's reborn, and like his mom shows up, and he's like,
I'll give it that because I did rewatch them, and I did notice that. Yeah, I noticed that it had a cool look, and it had some cool stuff going on, but and the unrated cut, because I found it on VHS, right? The unrated cut is so much gorier. Yeah. Like when he's feeding the girl her guts and stuff, there's so much more to it. And it's like that was a pretty like bonkers scene. It felt very like Tim Burton-y almost, that scene. Right. But overall it's like, you know, Super Freddy, like, oh boy, Freddy on a skateboard. Oh brother.
It wasn't the Power Glove one, was it?
No, we'll get to that.
So what was after that?
Freddy's Dead.
Oh yeah.
The Final Nightmare.
Was Freddy's Dead the Alice Cooper one?
Yeah. Only good thing to that. Yeah. And it's like, I always try and find like things at least that I do like. And the one kind of thing that I liked with Freddy's Dead is, I'll get your thoughts on the movie as well, because I know, well, besides trash. This
whole episode will just be, so what do you think of that one, Bill? And I'll be like, trash.
Yeah, barf. I like the idea that the whole town has gone insane and there's no children left and it's just like abandoned. Like that's a neat idea that Freddy fucked up that much of it. Yeah. That's about as far as it goes, you know, because the whole introduction to Freddy had a kid and a family and they lived at 1428 Elm Street, which I'm pretty sure is what they were insinuating. Yeah. Which is bonkers to me because if you're the cop, if I'm a murderer and you're the cop and you killed me because I'm a child murderer, would you be like, that house is super nice though. Let's move our family in there. You know, like look at the square footage, you know, like, like that's such a dumb thing. And like, they're just him, like timeline wise, I don't even think it really works out that he had a kid.
At that point, I don't think they cared.
No, they really didn't.
No.
I mean, the things in general that are like so goofy too is that someone's having a Freddy dream. Oh my god, the video game sequence, Breckenmeyer, which is terrible, and the computer graphics look like it's so bad. The Power Glove, fuck. Freddy's makeup is terrible in this movie. Also, it looks just like a wax mask. It's hard to say.
It started getting bad in 4, and then 5 was just
5 wasn't very good, and then 6 was just.
The only thing I will give the entire series credit for is every movie had kick-ass poster artwork.
Yes.
All of Nightmare posters are absolute masterpieces.
Yeah, Matthew Peak, I think is that his name? Oh, God.
Brilliant.
Beautiful posters.
And good for them for keeping poster art consistent. Because so many franchises
Except for part 6, they didn't. They used a photo. It was like red, and it had just Freddy's face coming out of the clouds and his arm coming out of the clouds. Oh. Which is weird because later...
6 Freddy's Dead?
Yeah, Freddy's Dead.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But that artist did do, I think it was for the album, like the LP, he did do a painted version, and it's fantastic.
Wow.
So, yeah, the fact that somebody's having like a bad dream, and the other kids are like, well, we'll just go into the dream and save them. Yeah. And it's like, people just can't do this. Like, they made a point in part 3 that Patricia Arquette, is like, she has a power. She can pull you into the dream. Right. Holy fuck.
But most people cannot do that.
Yeah, that's just like, you know, she had to pass that on to, like, Alice in part 4. Use my power. Yeah. So the fact that anybody can just jump in the dream, easy peasy, you know, is stupid. And then the whole, like, okay, yeah, they go into Freddy's head.
Yeah.
And that was when they were like, hey, we're going to do this in 3D. And that's when 3D was the worst. Like, terrible looking. Like, claymation shit, too.
Because it was the old whatever the word is, analyth.
Like the red, blue.
Yeah.
Just terrible. And I remember seeing it in the theaters. Oh, my God. And they had to explain it. They gave you at the beginning of the movie, somebody had to be like, to tell you when to put them on. Okay, so in the movie, when the woman puts 3D glasses on... That's when you put yours on. And then they had to like work that into the movie. Like, hey, Yapakoto, hey, before you go into this dream, put these 3D glasses on. Out here, he may well have said it like this. Out here, they don't mean anything, but in the dream, can mean anything that you want. He should have like looked at the camera and shrugged like, I'm so sorry, I don't know.
Trash.
Yeah, it was. So it's like she puts them on in the dream and they go like, dingle, 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 dingle. And then they disappear off her face. Good. Now you can get into his, fuck you, fuck off.
All right, so what's after Freddy's dead?
Alice Cooper.
Do you have any more?
So the last
Alice was cool.
Alice is great. The last little thing that bugged me is that the big, like how we're finally going to kill Freddy.
Yeah.
Let's just bring him into the real world and kill him.
Yeah.
You mean like in part 1?
You know where he's already been.
1,000 times. You fucking ding-dongs. Terrible movie. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah.
I love Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Did you rewatch that one?
Yep.
Yeah? Did you?
I've liked it from the beginning.
I really
You're the one that doesn't like that.
I never liked it.
Jay never liked it.
No kidding.
No.
But yeah, I enjoy it.
Huh. I really liked it too, just because
I don't love it, but I enjoed it.
I really like it. That's another one I think that was before its time. It was like meta before things were meta, you know? I like the look of Freddy in it.
I like the look too. I thought it was
neat. Imposing and scary again.
Yeah.
The claw was kind of neat, but kind of cumbersome and big too.
Yeah.
It looked. I like that it looked more like it looked on the posters.
Yeah.
Like all bone and metal.
Yeah, it
and
was
wire.
neat.
I liked. It was just a neat idea that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And I remember going to see it in the theaters in the old Oshawa Center when you had to go like up that giant escalator.
Yeah.
And it was in like the last theater on opening night and there was no poster even for it.
I stole so many posters from that theater.
There was no poster, and I asked the guy that was letting like the usher. I was like, "How come there's no poster?" And he's like, "We don't expect it to last long enough. We didn't even bother to put a poster up." And I was like, "Oh, ouchie!"
They used to put posters in these metal stands, and they were just open at the top, like they just put the poster in.
That.
So every time I was done a movie, I'd come out, and my friends would stand in front of it, and I'd go whoop, 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 and roll it up, and then just walk out the back door with it.
I am calling the president of the Oshawa Center.
But my choices of posters to steal was strange. I stole Frankie and Johnny.
Okay.
With Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer, which I love.
Yeah.
And I stole Welcome Home Roxy Carmichael with Winona Ryder.
Weird.
I don't know why I stole. I guess
weird.
it was just like, it's a poster.
Yeah.
I like movies. I'll take it.
I get that. Yeah.
I think risk it all. Why not? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Roxy Carmichael.
But
I really like New Nightmare. There's not like tons to.
I stole a red velvet rope from there too.
I feel like I remember that.
Yeah, it was in my room for the longest time.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know. You charged me $2 to get into your room.
Yeah, that's right.
Open the.
Do you remember who the doorman was to my room? It was from a standee.
No.
It was Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. Because remember in Roadhouse, he's leaning against the wall?
Yeah, that's so funny.
I pulled that part off and put him against my wall. So there's this red velvet rope with Patrick Swayze.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week on Confessions of a Movie Fanatic.
People had to get by a Swayze to get into my room.
You can come in, but you have to go past Dalton. Anyway, continue.
No, that's right. And then, of course, Freddy versus Jason. What are your thoughts on that? I don't like it.
It's
a lot of people really like it. Did you like it, Jay? We saw it together.
Yeah. We went through a lot to go to see that.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the opening night?
I'm sensing by Lee's face that he does not.
You were at my house,
right?
Because there was the blackout.
Oh shit!
Right, so we wound up leaving work around 3:00 early because the mall was shut down.
Oh my god, the big blackout that half of North America.
So then you came over to my place, and we wound up listening with whatever battery power we had left on my radio in the backyard, hoping that they would announce that the power is going to come back on.
Oh my god!
And it never did, so that it ruined our night, and we didn't get to go.
Wow, I forgot about that.
That blackout ruined my birthday that year.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember because you were laying in your room and like we were over, or I came over for your birthday, and you were just like laying down, And
I was so depressed.
yeah, you were. And I remember I was like outside, and it's like things started to come back on.
Yeah.
And it's like you see the ceiling fans start
And the kid.
doing.
It was
There's the kid. The power's on! The power's
It was
on!
literally like a town crier kid running down the street going, the power's back on!
And I went into your room and I was like, dude, the power's on. You're like, ho, ho, or whatever. I'm like, no, the fucking power's on. Look at your blinking alarm clock. Yeah, Freddy vs. Jason, I feel like, I mean, if you watch the Never Sleep Again documentary, which is fucking fantastic,
Yeah,
I've watched
great.
it several times. They talk all
the
about
Friday the 13th one is amazing.
It's also great too. Yep. They talk all about like how hard it was for them to get that Freddy vs. Jason made because there were so many different versions of it.
Yeah.
And I think that they made the best version they could.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like they did like
they?
I don't know.
Or did they make the best version that they had?
Based on all the different dumb stories and ideas that they had along the way, I feel like that's the best that they had at the point. You know, could they do a better one now? Maybe. But, you know, like they tried to stay true at least to like the rules of Freddy and the rules of Jason and stuff. But
I liked elements of it, but overall it was really forgettable.
Yeah, I didn't care about the characters at all.
Yeah.
The fact even is just like a nitpicky thing, but they filmed it in like Vancouver, and they picked a house that sort of looked like the Elm Street house, but tried to pass it off as the Elm Street house. And I'm like, fuck you, that's not 1428 Elm Street. It was just too cheesy, like way too over the top cheesy. Like
it was still jokey Freddy.
It was jokey Freddy.
Like that one character there was like a Jay from Jay
and Silent Bob. Yeah, like why?
Like we got to have this weed smoking character.
Bad times.
Yeah, just really weird. Kelly Rowland dropping like a real like out of place homophobic slur against Freddy. It's like, yo, that was uncalled for. I remember it was like WWE style fighting was silly. It was too silly. You know, I understand that a lot of people like love it, and that's totally cool. It's too goofy for me.
Yeah,
give me Scary
Freddy's
Freddy.
Look was cool, like the way that they did his teeth and stuff.
The makeup was pretty cool.
It was interesting.
Jason looked cool too.
Freddy, like it was cool.
It sucks that Kane Hodder that they passed over him because it should have been Kane Hodder.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Well, you know what?
Sorry, I just thought of something for our remake show. Friday the 13th. I really like that remake anyway.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're out of time and can't discuss the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
There was no remake. What are you talking
That's
about?
too bad.
No.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But yes, there you go, folks. Nightmare on Elm Street dissected.
Mostly by me. Sorry I talk so much.
No, that's what I expected. Like, that's your thing. When we do franchises, well, see, we're definitely going to be doing a Friday the 13th one.
Yeah.
And I think the mechanics of that episode will kind of run the opposite of this
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because I got a lot to say about the Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to give them a rewatch. I did that last year. I rewatched all of them again.
There's very little in that series that I don't like.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And a lot of people, and I think that's why I've kind of always favored it over Elm Street, is because 1, 2, and 3 I'll rewatch constantly for Nightmare, and I won't watch any of the others. Whereas even though they're we're going over here, but even though Friday the 13th is like very familiar territory in every movie, for some reason for me that works. But we will discuss that further in the future.
That's one of the things real quick that I like about the Elm Street movies. It's like one of the only horror series where every movie has a different look and a different feel from the previous one. And that's kind of a cool...
I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
Yeah. Freddy's the best anyway.
Anyway, folks, go home, watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, enjoy it. Make it one of the first 3 and do yourself a favor. And not the remake. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Sign us out, Lee.
Hey, do you like...
Let Freddie sign us out.
Real Ramblers, bitch. Welcome to Elm Street.
Oh my God.
Steve Austin? Who the fuck was that?
It's the first thing I could think of.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next time.
Jesus.
Thanks for listening to The Real Ramblers. Follow us on Instagram at Real Ramblers. That's REEL Ramblers. And you can follow Lee at Lee Howard _art and Bill at JustTheBill1138.